There is a specific, haunting tableau that enacts itself within the private sanctuaries of millions of homes, spanning every culture and every time zone, repeating with the mechanical precision of a clockwork tragedy. It happens in the quiet tension of a kitchen at midnight, and it happens in the suffocating silence of a car ride. It happens in the bedroom where two people lie inches apart, yet separated by an ocean of unspoken grievances. Consider the wife who stares at the back of her husband's head, watching the blue, artificial luminescence of a smartphone screen reflect in his glasses. She is not merely wishing he would put the device away. She is screaming silently for a connection that feels like a phantom limb, atching for him to tune into the frequency of her existence rather than the digital noise of the world. Consider the husband who drives home with a knot of anxiety tightening in his chest, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turn white. He constructs elaborate fantasies in which his wife finally perceives the crushing, tectonic weight of the responsibilities he carries, the financial terrors, the professional humiliations, hoping that for once she will offer sanctuary rather than scrutiny. Consider the mother watching her son, her heart breaking in slow motion as she sees him walk toward a cliff edge she has already mapped out. She wonders, with a desperation that borders on physical pain, why he refuses to accept the map she offers. Why he insists on stumbling through the dark when she holds a lantern right before his eyes. And consider that son, suffocated by the heavy blanket of well-intentioned guidance, wish his parents would understand that his life is not a sequel to theirs, but a completely new story that requires the freedom to bleed, to fail, and to breathe on its own terms. We gaze upon these people, the ones we claim to love most, and somewhere in the deepest, most primal recesses of our psyche, we perform a quiet, deadly calculation. It is a transaction of the soul. If only they would alter their geometry to fit my blueprint, then the chaos inside me would settle. If they changed, I could finally rest. And so, the great project begins. We become architects of other people's behavior. We start with the subtle tools. We drop hints like bread crumbs, hoping they will follow the trail to the version of themselves we desire. We explain our logic with the patience of a saint, assuming that if they simply understood the rationality of our pain, they would reconstruct their personalities overnight. When logic fails, we escalate. The arguments begin not conversations, but verbal sieges. We plead, we bargain, we weaponize our tears and our rage. We become strategists of emotional warfare. We try kindness, but it is a kindness with hooks in it. We try patience, but it is a patience that is actually a ticking bomb. We try anger, hoping the shock will wake them up. We try silence, turning our withdrawal into a punishment, a cold vacuum meant to force them into submission. And yet, look at the results. More often than not, they remain stubbornly, infuriatingly themselves. Or perhaps, under the duress of our pressure, they shift. They wear the mask we carved for them. They perform the script we wrote. But the change is brittle. It is painted on. In a week, a month, a year, the mask slips and the old patterns re-emerge, ancient and unyielding. The cycle grinds on, a wheel of fire. Expectation rises like a fever. Disappointment crashes down like a wave. Frustration hardens into resentment. We double our efforts, pouring more energy into the black hole of control, and we reap only a harvest of deeper disappointment. We exhaust our spirits. We hollow ourselves out. we exhaust them, eroding the very bond we sought to save. And underneath the noise, the arguing, the silence, and the strategy, the suffering remains a cold, heavy stone in the pit of the stomach that refuses to dissolve. Have you ever dared to freeze this mechanism in mid-gear? Have you ever stopped in the wreckage of this cycle and dared to ask a question that turns the world upside down? Not the usual question, how can I refine my strategy to make them change? But the dangerous, liberating question, why does my entire sense of well-being depend on rewriting the soul of another human being? This is the precipice where our journey begins today. We are not here to offer you simple hacks or psychological tricks. We are here to walk into the dark room of the self. We are not starting with answers, which are often just anesthetics. We are starting with questions, honest, surgical questions that cut to the bone. I must establish a crucial boundary before we descend. Turning inward, as we are about to do, is not a doctrine of submission. It does not mean becoming a doormat for abuse or tolerating toxicity with a beatific smile. Wisdom is sharp, it has teeth. Sometimes the highest form of wisdom is the clarity to speak a thunderous no, to erect a fortress of boundaries, or to walk away and never look back. But even then, especially in those moments of necessary severance, the clarity to act must come from a place of deep internal stillness, not reactive chaos. If we leave out of hatred, we are still bound. If we speak out of desperation, we are not heard. To act wisely, we must first understand the machinery of our own reactions. So, let us descend together. Let us peel back the skin of this very human struggle and look at the anatomy of our discontent. When the urge to change someone seizes us, the justification feels self-evident. It feels objective. They did the thing. They spoke the words that cut. They forgot the date that mattered. On the surface, our desire for them to be different appears to be the only rational response to reality. Anyone with eyes would agree with us, we tell ourselves. We gather a jury of our peers in our heads to validate our verdict. But if we can summon the courage to sit in the stillness with this feeling, if we allow ourselves to stare into the abyss of our own reaction without blinking, we begin to notice a glitch in the matrix. We notice a discrepancy. The intensity of our internal nuclear detonation often does not match the blast radius of the actual event. A forgotten anniversary should be a disappointment, yes, but in our minds, it becomes a catastrophe, a 3-hour opera of accusations. An unwashed dish is not just ceramic and graze it becomes a forensic exhibit, proving their fundamental lack of respect for our existence. A casual, thoughtless comment becomes a necrotic wound we nurse for days, picking at the scab so it never heals. Why? What is the alchemy that turns these trivial leaden moments into heavy, poisonous gold? What is it about the friction of living with others that flays us open so easily? The Buddha, in his relentless examination of the human condition, identified 3 primordial forces that drive the engine of suffering. He called them the 3 poisons. These are not archaic, religious metaphors meant for monks in caves. They are precise psychological descriptors of what is happening in your nervous system right now. They are greed, aversion, and delusion. These 3 forces are the architects of your misery. They are alive, breathing, and dictating the texture of your reality. And if we place our desire to control others under the microscope, we find all 3 poisons dancing together. The first poison is greed, but we must strip this word of its financial connotations. In the Buddhist sense, greed is not about hoarding golds. It is lobha, the unquenchable thirst, the sticky, grasping craving for reality to be other than it is. It is the hunger for validation, for certainty, for the universe to bow to our will. When we look at our partner or our child and think, change, there is a craving pulse beneath that thought. We are not merely asking for a clean kitchen. We are craving to be seen. We are starving to be valued. We are desperate to be loved in a very specific, scripted way that soothes our insecurities. When we say, I wish you would remember our anniversary, the subtext, written in invisible ink, is I wish you would provide me with evidence that I exist, that I matter, that I am not alone in the dark. When we say, I wish you would listen to me, we are really saying, I wish you would validate my reality so I don't have to carry the weight of my own feelings alone. We are not just asking for behavioral modification. We are craving proof of our own worthiness. We are using the other person as a mirror, and when the mirror shows us something we don't like, we try to smash the mirror. Life is a chaotic, swirling storm of uncertainty. People are rivers, not statues. They are unpredictable, fluid, and often dangerous. We cannot control the stock market, the weather, or the moment of our death. This uncertainty is terrifying to the ego. It feels like falling. So we reach out for something, anything, that feels solid. We grab onto the people nearest to us. We think, if I can just sculpt this person, if I can just make them predictable, then I will be safe. If they behave, the chaos stops. But this safety is a hallucination. It is a castle built on a cloud. The craving for control is a bottomless pit. You can throw everyone you know into it, and it will never be filled. The second poison is aversion dosa. This is the energy of pushing away. It is the clenched fist. It is the resistance to the present moment. When our craving is denied, when the world refuses to obey our commands, aversion flares up like a match struck in a gas-filled room. We feel the heat of frustration, the sour taste of resentment, the sharp spike of anger. The mind begins its protest. This is wrong. This should not be happening. They should not be this way. Observe the sheer volume of energy we incinerate in this state of resistance. We spend hours replaying past conversations, rewriting the dialogue so we win. We build elaborate legal cases against the people we love, listing their crimes, polishing our grievances until they shine like diamonds. We hold on to these hurts for days, years, decades. All of this mental noise is aversion at work. It is a refusal to surrender to the reality of what is. It is a war against the truth of the moment. The third poison is delusion, moha. This is the deepest root, the darkest shadow. It is the hardest to see because it is the I that is doing the seeing. Delusion is not simply being wrong about facts. It is a fundamental hallucination about the nature of existence. There is a deep, ancient, unconscious belief within us that we are solid, separate, permanent entities. We believe in the I. The I that must be defended, the I that must be right, the I that must be the protagonist of the universe. When our attempts to change others fail, this sense of I feels a tremor of existential panic. If I cannot make anyone listen to me, if I have no impact on the world, then do I even exist? If my will is impotent, am I nothing? This is the terror that lurks in the basement of the psyche, the fear that, without constant external reinforcement, the self might dissolve into mist. So we keep pushing, we keep fighting, because in some twisted logic, If we can force them to change, it proves that we are powerful, that we are real, that we are here. But the Buddha, with his laser-like perception, saw through this. He saw that this solid, permanent self is a ghost. What we call I is not a noun. It is a verb. It is a process. It is a constantly shifting river of sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. There is no little man inside your head pulling the levers. There is only the flow of experience. There is no one inside who needs to be defended, because the self is just a story we tell ourselves. There is only this moment, arising and vanishing like a lightning flash. When we are blind to this truth, we are trapped in delusion. And delusion acts as the fertilizer for greed and aversion. The three poisons feed each other, a serpentine Ouroboros eating its own tail, and we call this spinning wheel suffering. When this realization moves from the head to the heart, when it is not just a concept, but a visceral shock to the system, something tectonic shifts. We stop pointing the finger outward with such righteous speed. We become fascinated, almost like a scientist in a lab, with the chemical reactions occurring within our own minds. This is where the Buddha's teaching descends from the clouds of philosophy and hits the hard earth of practicality. If the three poisons are the radioactive core of our misery, how do we extract the fuel rods? What is the exit strategy? The Buddha was not merely a diagnostician of doom. He was a physician of the soul. He prescribed a cure. And one of his most piercing insights, this: you cannot not walk the path to enlightenment on someone else's legs. You cannot oxygenate your blood with someone else's lungs, and you cannot awaken from the dream of suffering using someone else's mind. The universe is brutally, strictly, specifically designed. Each of us must carry our own cargo. Each of us must metabolize our own karma. In the Dhammapada, a collection of verses that ring like bells across 25 centuries, verse 160 declares, At hayatano ento, ko hyantho parosai. You are your own refuge. Who else could be your refuge? This is not a statement of rugged individualism or cold isolation. It is a statement of physics. It is a recognition of the mechanics of consciousness. No one can reach inside your chest and untee the knots of your anger for you. You can hire therapists. You can sit at the feet of gurus. You can read every holy book ever written. But the actual transmutation, the alchemical shift from leaden confusion to golden clarity, is a solo operation. The Buddha also turned his gaze toward our addiction to judgment. In verse 50, he advised, do not look at what others have done or left undone. Look at what you yourself have done or left undone. And in verse 252, he offered a scathing observation of human nature. It is easy to see the faults of others, but hard to see one's own. One sifts out the faults of others like chaff, winnowing them in the wind, but hides one's own faults like a cheating gambler conceals a losing die. These are not moral commandments delivered by a judgmental God. They are pragmatic instructions for survival. As long as your eyes are locked on the behavior of others, scanning for errors, cataloging their sins, you are hemorrhaging power. You are looking in the wrong direction. You are trying to clean the mirror to wash your face. This leads us inevitably to the law of Kamma. In the West, we have butchered this concept, turning it into a cosmic reward system or a tool for victim blaming. But in the Kamma Sutta, the Buddha taught beings are the owners of their actions, heirs to their actions. Their actions are their womb, their relative, their refuge. Every thought that flashes through your mind, Every word that leaves your tongue, every action your body performs, these are seeds. And you, and only you, will eat the fruit of those seeds. When we act out of the 3 poisons, when we manipulate from greed, scream from aversion, or control from delusion, we are planting forests of thorns for ourselves. We are designing our own future hells. Conversely, when we act from wisdom and compassion, we are constructing a sanctuary of peace. But understand this clearly: Kamma is a mirror, not a hammer. It is not a weapon to bludgeon others with. It is a tool for self-reflection. The Buddha clarified that Kamma is defined by intention, the psychological deen behind the action. You are the custodian of your own consciousness. But the results, the outcomes, those arise from a billion infinite variables crashing together. This realization should not breed arrogance. It should breed a trembling humility. When this teaching dissolves into your marrow, the game changes. You stop blaming the world for your internal weather. You stop waiting for your husband, your wife, or your son to change so that you can finally be happy. You stop outsourcing your emotional stability. You reclaim your power. You turn inward. You pick up the shovel and begin the work that only you can do. However, this inward turn brings us to a razor's edge. We must distinguish between spiritual bypassing and true wisdom. We must understand the difference between turning inward and turning away. If the instruction is to change yourself, not others, does that imply we become passive observers of destruction? Do we stand silent while someone abuses us? Do we tolerate injustice with a shrug, muttering it's their karma? The answer is a thunderous, absolute no. The Buddha was not a passive nihilist. If his teaching was about withdrawal, he would have remained under the Bodhi tree, basking in the bliss of nirvana until he starved. Instead, he spent 45 years walking the dusty roads of India, engaging with kings, murderers, prostitutes, and philosophers. He built a revolutionary community. He challenged the caste system. He was relentlessly, tirelessly engaged with the suffering of the world. There is a legend in the commentaries that illuminates this. The Sakya and Kaliya clans, kinsmen of the Buddha, were on the brink of a bloody war over the dwindling waters of the Rowan River. The drums were beating. The swords were sharpened. The Buddha did not sit in a cave and meditate on their karma. He walked onto the battlefield. He placed his physical body between the 2 armies. He interrogated them, "How much is this water worth?" "Very little," they admitted. "How much is the blood of these men worth?" "Beyond price," they replied. The weapons were lowered. The war was averted. He intervened. He spoke truth to power. He acted. So, the teaching is not about paralysis. It is about the source of the action. It is about the quality of the mind that drives the intervention. There are 2 ways to act in this world. The first way is the way of the wounded ego. This action is fueled by the 3 poisons. It screams, "You must change because your existence is hurting me. I need you to be different so I can feel safe." This is manipulation disguised as help. It is control disguised as love. It is a grasping hand that chokes the life out of the relationship. Even if you win, you lose, because the victory is built on coercion, and your craving remains unquenched. The second way is the way of wisdom and compassion. This action rises from a clear lake of understanding. It says, "I see suffering here. I see you are hurting yourself and others. I will speak the truth. I will set a boundary to protect us both. But, and this is the key, I surrender the outcome. In the first case, we are addicted to the result. In the second, we are dedicated to the action, but detached from the result. In the first case, our internal state is a chaotic storm of anxiety. In the second, our internal state is the eye of the hurricane, still, clear, and powerful. The Buddha spoke of a sublime state of mind called upekkha equanimity. It is the fourth divine abode. But upekkha is the most misunderstood word in the spiritual lexicon. People think equanimity means indifference. They imagine a monk staring blankly at a burning building. This is false. True equanimity is not the absence of caring. It is the presence of a vast, panoramic perspective. It is the ability to care deeply, to love fiercely, and yet to remain standing when the winds of fate blow the house down. It is the surgeon's hand, steady, precise, cutting to heal, not shaking with the hysteria of the family in the waiting room. It is grounded in the terrifying realization that we are not gods. We do not have the power to reach into another human soul and flip the switch. Clinging to the illusion that we do is the source of our agony. From the bedrock of Kamma and the vast sky of upekkha, we find a new way to relate. We advise, we guide, we model. We speak difficult, jagged truths with a voice of velvet. We say no when no is needed, but we release the result. Whether they change is their journey, their battle, their karma. And here is the paradox of all paradoxes. When we act from this place of non-clinging, our actions become infinitely more potent. Why? Because the other person can smell the absence of judgment. They can feel that you are not trying to possess them. The defensive walls they built against your control begin to crumble. Not because you smashed them, but because you stopped attacking. This is the difference between a prison and a sanctuary. One binds, the other liberates. So, what does the work actually look like? What does it mean to change yourself? This is not about the modern obsession with self-optimization. It is not about getting six-pack abs or a higher salary or becoming more productive. It is a demolition project. It is the dismantling of the structures of delusion. The Buddha offered the Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness. This is the laboratory technique. We observe the body. We observe the feelings. We observe the mind. We observe the phenomena of reality. We watch them arise like bubbles in boiling water. We watch them burst and vanish. We see, empirically, that nothing is solid. We see that the anger you felt 10 minutes ago is gone, replaced by hunger or boredom. We see that the self is a flowing river, not a dam. The goal of this observation is to see impermanence and non-self. We do not watch our partner to diagnose their narcissism. We watch our own reaction to their narcissism to understand the nature of our own pain. When you practice this relentlessly, a gap opens up. Someone insults you. Usually, the reaction is instant stimulus right-arrow explosion. But with practice, you catch it. You feel the heat rising in the chest. You hear the ego cocking its weapon. And you pause. You breathe. You look at the anger and say, I see you. In that microsecond of a pause, the entire universe changes. In that pause lies your freedom. Not the freedom to control the world, but the freedom to not be controlled by your habits. And a strange magic often follows. When you stop playing your part in the old script, the other actors don't know what to do. They can't fight a wall that isn't there. When you stop judging, they feel the sudden, terrifying safety of being seen. And in that space, they might begin to change themselves. But I must offer you a final, sober warning. This is not a quick fix. This is not a weekend workshop. The patterns of greed, aversion, and delusion are not surface dust. They are carved into the granite of your psyche. They are ancient. They have momentum. Unraveling them is the work of a lifetime. It requires a warrior's spirit. You will fail. You will lose your temper. You will fall back into the trap of trying to fix everyone around you. You will forget everything you read here today. This is not a mistake. It is the path. The path is not a straight line, it is a spiral. What matters is the return. Each time you catch yourself blaming, that is a moment of awakening. Each time you choose silence over sarcasm, that is a victory. Each time you return to the breath, you are breaking a chain that has bound you for eons. The Buddha said that greater than the general in all who conquers 1,000,000 men in battle is the one who conquers himself. This is the supreme victory. So, the next time the cycle begins, the next time the wife ignores you, the husband forgets, the son rebels, stop. Freeze the frame. Withdraw the hand that reaches out to strangle the world into submission. Turn the light inward. Ask the terrifying questions. What is hurting in me? What am I demanding from this moment? What am I afraid to feel? Do not rush to answer. Just look. Just be the witness. Remember, you are your own refuge. No one can save you but you. No one can walk this razor's edge for you. But if you walk it step by trembling step, breath by conscious breath, you will discover a peace that is not fragile. You will find a clarity that does not shatter when the world shakes. You will find the only freedom that matters. And that is a freedom no one can ever take away.